Hi, just popping in to talk a little bit about the sun and you for the Coherence Lab. I'm Christine. I have a little bit of human design background here for the transit updates that we're running and the calendar experiment that we're playing around with in the Coherence Lab. So today we'll just talk a little bit about the sun and you and how important it is to our daily life, even though we are often very unaware of it. Um, in human design, we are very focused on the sun and all the planets, just like in astrology. It has a huge impact on us at our birth as well as on an ongoing basis. It's not something we generally have paid much attention to in mainstream modern society, but that doesn't mean that it's not true, and it doesn't mean that there's not a lot more people remembering this idea that we are part of a larger cosmos. And so we picked the sun in particular because it is such a strong energy and it does have so much to say about what the background frequency is in our lives. And so in human design, we take four different wisdom systems, ancient wisdom systems, and we bring them together along with what we now know about quantum mechanics and the stew of all of these bits of information come together to form a really comprehensive, complex system that tells us about our personal energy in the world and about the energy of the collective. And so human design works with astrology. We work on our same birth time, date, and place, just like an astrology chart would. We bring in the I Ching and the Brahmin chakra system, as well as the Jewish Kabbalah tree of life. And so those four major systems, all of which are whole in their own right, are brought together in a way that shows how the wisdom in each of them overlap in telling us about our energetics. It is the science of differentiation. Human design is here to tell us, to remind us that we are all unique individuals by design. None of us are like anybody else. None of us think alike. None of us see the world the same way. None of us feel the same things. We are all here to do our own thing in a way that brings us fulfillment and joy and also brings wholeness to the world. So it's a really powerful message that human design is here to convey. It is a map to our individual energetic and genetic blueprint. It shows us how we are different from others in very specific ways. And the sun placement in our designs is very prominent. It's very important. The where the sun was in the sky at the moment of our birth is a huge influence on our life. It brings a bunch of information to bear about who we are, how we show up, how we shine in the world. And following the sun energy every year can also bring us lots of information, valuable information about how to live happily and fulfilled and aware more than anything, how to live in awareness of the energies that we are living within. It is constantly shifting, of course. The sun is constantly shifting. Everything in the universe is constantly shifting. And so just that awareness alone can be really powerful. This idea that whatever's going on for us today, it's going to probably be different tomorrow. And recognizing that that is a constant, the only constant is change, can be really powerful for us in any given moment, whether we're, being in a super joyful moment or a very much less than joyful moment. It is going to change by definition. So the human design system is essentially bringing together all of these systems into one wheel, what we call the Rave Mandala. And so I think of the Rave Mandala as having an outer cosmology of the astrology and the I Ching, and an inner cosmology of the chakra system and the Jewish tree of life that get brought together into what we call the body graph. In the outer cosmology is the astrology, right? So this wheel that many of you are probably familiar with is a calendar, right? It is showing us the sun's transit through the sky over a 365-day period. In astrology, they start the year at the spring equinox in the sign of Aries, and what that means is we're here on Earth, we look across the sky, out into the sky, we see the sun, and in the backdrop of the sun is the Aries constellation. So the sun is in Aries through the eyes of an astrologer. And as we transit around the sun, our viewpoint changes, and the sun appears to be living in other places. And so the year starts in Aries, it moves counterclockwise around the full circle, stopping and never stopping, but transiting through each constellation in the sky, in the zodiac. And so that in and of itself is a calendar, right? And astrologers would tell you those different times of the year have different energy signatures. And we know this too in our lived experience. We know that the spring feels different than the fall. It's very straightforward. We just don't think about it as energetically different, yet it is. Again, starts in Aries and then moves counterclockwise through each of these pieces. The next piece of the cosmology is this I Ching, right? This system is probably the oldest wisdom system that we know of. It is the source of the idea of a binary yin and yang system of a left and right, white and black, good and bad. This binary that exists within us as humans was expressed probably first by the Chinese 3,000 plus years ago. And they did it with a simple line structure. Lines were either solid yang lines or broken yin lines, female. Yang male, yin female. And the two of these lines together form multiple different, they can only be put together in so many ways, essentially, this binary system. And it turns out they can be put together in 64 different ways. There's 8 trigrams, and the 8 trigrams can be put into 64 different configurations. And in this system, each hexagram contains a specific type of energy. It's called the Book of Changes. And so it talks about how energy changes from one spot, one place to the next. That's the whole basic understanding of the I Ching. And so these lines get turned into, like I said, trigrams, and then 6 lines together come together to form a hexagram. And so for many years, it was practiced in this grid structure. People thought of it in this grid structure. Many people still do think of it in this grid structure. But at some point, the grid structure was turned into a structure on a wheel. And this is how we use it in human design. This wheel sits inside of the astrological wheel. And so as the sun is transiting through Capricorn, it's also transiting through hexagram 10, 58, 38. In human design, we call these gates, right? So it's transiting these gates at the same moment that it's transiting this Capricorn energy. And so the sun is moving around this wheel in this counterclockwise fashion. And as it's moving through these gates, it is expressing the archetypal energy of that gate, right? So gate 19 is the gate of sensitivity. It's in Aquarius. It's in January. It's very much about being sensitive to the world, about paying attention, noticing what needs to be improved, being aware of others' needs, all of those things. That gate 19 energy exists, especially while the sun is transiting through it. And not just for you as an individual, for everyone on the planet. So it's an opportunity in this little calendar that we've built to pay attention to what is going on for us individually, what is going on for the people that we love. Do we notice more sensitivity in this 19 gate 19 time? There is a set progression here. It looks to us to be chaotic because, 61 doesn't follow 60 and 41 certainly doesn't follow 60 numerically, but there is a structure to this wheel that is very regular. It's probably more than we need to go into here, but it is regular. This half of the wheel is what we call a yang energy. All the trigrams in this half of the wheel start with a yang energy at their base at line 1. This half of the wheel is a yin energy. All of the trigrams start with a broken line, a yin line at the base, and they proceed regularly in that fashion. And so there is structure to the wheel. And those energies, those greater energies, the yin and yang, are also present. Each sun transit, each gate transit is about 5.5 days. So our calendar reflects this. We walk through the 5.5 days of each line of the hexagram that the sun moves through in its progression around the calendar year. And like I said, as the sun's moving through this gate, the energy in the world reflects the archetypal energy of that gate. And it's something that we can only, notice when we notice it, when we pay attention to it. And so that's part of what this experiment is trying to get at. Can we pay attention to this subtle energy in a way that becomes apparent in our own life that, oh yeah, I actually am having more issues around sensitivity, or I am feeling this sensitivity in this time. I didn't realize that. Interesting. I wonder if that happens every year. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see for next year. And so again, these two cosmologies from the outside meet up with the inner cosmology of the body graph. And so the body graph is truly the innovation in human design. It brings in all of these 64 archetypal energies and maps them into our physical form. And so each hexagram on this wheel has a particular spot in which it lives in our body graph. Gate 19 that I talked about lives down here in our root. And so this outer cosmology comes in as well. And so the calendar is an opportunity to notice, as a person with this sun in gate 19, when the sun is transiting in gate 19 this year, does that mean something in particular for me? Am I feeling more pressure to do something? Am I feeling sensitive to pressure? Am I feeling like I don't have the energy, or I do have the energy to do something? These are all things that we can ask ourselves if we're being aware of the background frequencies that we're all swimming in. So that's the basics of what we were trying to do in this calendar. I will do another short intro with the actual calendar itself to show you how we've designed it and what the various pieces are. And then these two little videos together can come together to help you, run your own experiment.